with that down, let's move on to our third main topic today. And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Doug Black, who writes, so, the early reactions for A Quiet Place Part 2 are out, and let's just say they look great. Some even saying better than the first. All of them saying that the tension is unreal. How excited does this make you? Like me, this is one of your most anticipated films of 2020, and these reviews make me all jibbly. Thanks, and keep up the filthy. All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, man. And yes, listen, I thought a couple of years ago, I have stayed on this firm. I've rewatched a lot of these movies since. A Quiet Place was the best movie of the year. Should have been nominated. It didn't get nominated for Best Picture. I thought it should have been nominated for Best Picture. I also thought John Krasinski probably should have been nominated for Best Director when you consider that so much of this film was done even without dialogue. And he did a tremendous job with that. Quiet Place was quite simply outstanding. It's an outstanding film. I absolutely loved it. There's heart, family, emotion, and on top of that, monsters that rip you to pieces. I mean, it's got everything put in there, and I absolutely loved it. So that was the main reason why, coming into 2020, my personal most anticipated film of the year has been A Quiet Place 2. It doesn't always work out, but the first reactions are now coming in. And here are some of the first reactions. Megan Navarro's writing, Quiet Place Part 2 is not at all what I expected, and that's a great thing. A very creative sequel that goes to some unexpected and satisfying places. Bravo. So there's that. Mike Ryan writes, A Quiet Place Part 2 is Tension the movie. I have a stomach ache now from how tense this movie is. Also, it turned out to be a surprisingly great Cillian Murphy movie. Kate Eberland writes, A Quiet Place Part 2, a worthy world-expanding follow-up that builds on the original and finds its own thrills, chills, and emotions in the process. Audiences should still be banned from eating crunchy snacks during any and all screenings. That was, by the way, that was always the hard part, is when I always wait till there's noise on a screen to reach in for something. Quiet Place, you're going to sit there for like a half hour trying to find a good opportunity to eat something. Our friend Eric Davis writes, damn, A Quiet Place Part 2 rocks. Honestly, just as tense and terrifying as the first one. There are some sequences in the film that are a masterclass in suspense. Bravo, John Krasinski. Also so emotional too. Chris Killian writes, the use of sound in A Quiet Place Part 2 is still so vital. In what could easily have been a retread, John Krasinski finds unbelievably creative ways to keep the movie niche from getting stale. The entire cast is fantastic and riveting from top to bottom. On and on and on it goes. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there are no bad reviews out there. I'm just sitting here to tell you that I can't find any negative reviews on this thing. And I'm not surprised. Because when you look at the first Quiet Place movie, you could be forgiven if you thought it falls into the gimmick of, okay, monsters who find you by sound, so you got to be quiet. You'd be forgiven if you think this would be a little horror movie that falls just in that little niche. But again, it's about family. It's about loss. It's about, you're struggling parents struggling with their failures as parents. I mean, there's so much depth and emotion to this movie that I find it absolutely staggering. And so I'm not surprised at all, because if it was just niche and just kind of, there was a quirky kind of shtick to it for the first one, then yeah, maybe I could expect that the second one would fall flat. But the first one wasn't that. It was brilliantly crafted and beautifully assembled and put together with again, entire stretches of no sound. I had no reason to believe that John Krasinski couldn't find a way to do it again. And now, I haven't seen it myself. Maybe I'll hate the movie. A lot of the earlier reactions for Birds of Prey were quite good, and I ended up not liking the film. And maybe that'll happen here. But I got to say right now, it's good to hear these types of reactions from people. Aaron, you heard these reactions about it. Are you surprised? And how does this affect your anticipation level for the film?
I have to admit, I didn't see the first one.
Oh,
I know. But now I'm excited because I get to do a double feature. I'm going to see the first one at home, and then I'll go rush to the theater and I'll see the second one. But yes, I have heard incredible things about this. And as I already pointed out today, I love sound. And so,
so good.
And in the loving of sound is also the loving of the absence of sound, which is when you really can truly appreciate it. I also think it's fantastic that John Krasinski and Emily Blunt worked together, and clearly it went so well the first time they decided to do it again. I think that's kind of a magical Hollywood story right there. But it reminds me, when you talk about how easily it would be to fall under the sort of trope of, don't make too much noise, you're going to attract the monsters. It reminds me of Bird Box. When you have characters that have something to lose and are fighting for something and fighting against something, usually their own personal demons, that's always what makes it interesting. The thing that they're running away from is just sort of the carriage of their own personal journey. And it sounds like that's what a lot of this is. So I'm very excited to see it. Double feature.
Rob, you had a chance to you read all this. You're hearing the reviews and the responses. You did see the first A Quiet Place. How do these kind of early reactions strike you?
Well, I think it sounds great. When you have the creative team from the first movie come back, it's usually because they're excited about carrying the story forward in some new and unique way. And I'm looking forward to this. I thought that, the first Quiet Place had such an irresistible hook that had this built-in brilliant suspense element that, how often does the audience, the actual physical act of watching a movie, accentuate what's going on the screen?
Right.
That never happened. So to see that, and they've ratcheted up the tension even more, I think it's great. One of the sequels that I was surprised by, horror sequels, it wasn't directed by Danny Boyle, but was 28 Weeks Later. 28 Days Later I really liked, but when 28 Weeks Later started from the very beginning, it was a different movie, but I thought it was equally as good. And I really enjoy that. I'm like, I wish all sequels were kind of like this. And it's really reassuring to hear that they've broadened the story. They're telling a different story. It's not just a rehash, but they've still got the element of these creatures and hunting via sound. And I think this is going to be, look, dude, the trailers.
So good.
The trailers for this movie have been great. And even the way they show the monsters in these trailers in broad daylight, and they're not hiding anything, and it's that one long shot of her backing up down the small town street. It was amazing. I'm like, this looks really, really, really good. So I my confidence is very high on this, and really looking forward to it. And hearing these great words just makes it that much more exciting.
Question here is, guys, what do you think about these early reactions? And what did you think about the first film? Do you like it as much as me? Do you not like it as much as me? Whatever the case may be, jump on down to the comments section below and let me know how you guys are feeling. Where's your anticipation level right now for A Quiet Place 2? All right.